Who's the champ of foolish fame? Let's crown the buffoon of the week by name. Comic crown and a goofy streak. The title goes to our champ this week.
Hey there, everybody. Class is back in session here at Buffoonology 101. Welcome back to the classroom where Ross and I go head-to-head, and you guys get to vote for who is the buffoon of the week based upon our nominations. Ross, how you doing, pal?
What's going on, G-Money?
Well, there's a lot going on. We got a lot going on here at the channel. We got This Week in Dumbocracy early in the week. Then we have Behind Enemy Lines smack dab in the middle. And we end the week with Buffoonology 101 picking some buffoons. And we still haven't talked about punishment yet. You thought about it yet?
Well, let's talk about last week first, because the suspense is killing me, man.
Well, that's why I'm saying you should start thinking about punishment, because your boy's 1-0. That's right. Victory! The people have spoken, and Congresswoman Brittany Pedersen of Colorado was your buffoon of the week. I think I have the totals here. There were, surprisingly, I thought there was a good amount of votes. It was 43 votes overall. Not bad for a first show. And whether they were voting on X, whether they were voting at buffoonoftheweek.com or right here on YouTube, I won across the board 58.1% to 41.9%. Score one for the good guys, man, right there.
It was Pedersen versus who?
You don't remember who your nominee was?
I don't even remember.
That's Chris Matthews, you schmuck.
So Pedersen, a person we've never heard of, beat Chris Matthews. Okay.
Yeah, because as I said
demand...
listen. No. As I said in my closing argument, we're looking forward, not backward.
Well, okay? I don't demand a recount. I demand voter ID going forward. I want to know who these people are that thought a no-name congresswoman had a higher propensity for buffoonery and a bigger impact for bringing a baby to Congress. All right, Gene, fine. Bring it on this week.
Well, you know what? Since you're complaining about the rules, there's a part of the rules I want you to remember, and it's in our rules package here that you can watch and think about as you contemplate your next nominee. Here are the rules for this competition known as Buffoonology 101. Before the show, Ross and I have each selected our nominee to present to you for Buffoon of the Week. Each host will have 5 minutes to make their case to you as to why their nominee should earn your vote. The first 2 minutes will be uninterrupted by the other host, but after that, it's a free-for-all between the two discussing the nomination. The opposing host will then evaluate the nominee based on the criteria set forth in my award-winning best-selling book, Schnooks, Crooks, Lies, and Scoundrels, a field guide to identifying political buffoons, available right now on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, and other online bookstores.
This guy is a grifter!
The nominee will then be given a score for buffoonish nature and buffoonish action magnitude on our Sharpton Buffoonery Matrix, but more on that later. After that, we do it all over again for the other nominee. After all the nominees have been weighed and measured, each host will then have 1 minute to plead and beg for your vote for Buffoon of the Week. You'll get to vote online in the comments and on social media and at buffoonoftheweek.com. Vote early and vote often. No one's going to be counting whether you voted more than once. And now, back to the action. Did you happen to catch that last rule there, Galloway? Vote early, vote often. I'm not checking IDs at the door, and these are the rules that we agreed upon. So the fact that you're 0-1, you shouldn't be crying. You got no one to blame but yourself.
So I agreed with those rules back when I thought I'd be able to rig the vote. But now that I realize you have a stronger machine than I do, I want to revisit those rules.
Whoa. Let's understand that I am at a distinct disadvantage here. You have more family members than I do that can go out there and vote. What are you talking about?
Gene, we're literally playing by the rules in the book that you wrote.
No. It's not the rules of the book. The book governs how we evaluate them. But the rules are the rules we agreed upon.
Hey, Yeti. You know, I'm bored with slapping you around. Bores me.
Bring it on, Gene. Bring it on.
You know what? You know what? I don't argue with losers. All right. I'm in the lead. Start thinking about what the punishment's going to be at the end of the year. It's time for me to present my nominee for this week. You know, Ross, irony can be pretty ironic sometimes. When the irony gets really, really thick to the point of hypocrisy, that's when I especially love politics, when we deal with real hypocrites. My nominee for this week is New York Attorney General Letitia James, who is now being investigated for lying about assets to get a mortgage after she prosecuted Trump for lying about assets to get a bank loan. This is the most delicious hypocrisy. I live for this stuff. Let's break down what happened here.
The Angle has obtained shocking allegations leveled by the Trump administration against New York Attorney General Letitia James. The Federal Housing Finance Agency has sent a criminal referral to the DOJ accusing James of mortgage fraud. In a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi, Director Bill Pulte says James appears to have falsified records in order to meet certain lending requirements and receive favorable loan terms.
So, as reported by the New York Post and other outlets, Letitia James has been dodging questions about a referral to the DOJ concerning Letitia James's alleged mortgage fraud. What the story is about is Letitia James submitting applications for a mortgage for a property, claiming that she has a principal residence in Virginia. She's the New York Attorney General. I don't know how that's possible. And even before that, she was an elected official in the People's Republic of New York City. And the woman who infamously declared that no one is above the law when prosecuting Donald Trump, she's now avoiding the spotlight and letting her office speak for her now that the shoe's on the other foot. So Letitia James, according to information found by the New York Post, has an annual salary of about $220,000. The charge is that she falsified records to get sweetheart home loans for a Virginia property she claimed as her principal residence. And there's even a claim out there that Letitia James declared on those loan documents that her father is actually her husband.
Ew!
And that she did that to get favorable loan terms. What is it with Democrats claiming that relatives are actually their spouses? I mean, this is not the first time we've heard that. By the way, that letter was penned to the DOJ by the Federal Housing Finance Agency Director, William Pulte. This is the best example of the shoe being on the other foot.
Gene, your 2 minutes are up, so I'm going to jump in here. I gave you like a lot of time last time, and it wound up backfiring on me. I find it odd that you keep picking women every week. You know what I mean? We're just going to keep picking women, and now a woman of color, of all people.
It's only been 2 weeks. What are you talking about? So by the way, this happened back in February 2001. She was still in elected office back then. The letter from Pulte says that Letitia James consistently misrepresented that her home in Brooklyn had only 4 units, but it actually had 5 units within it. Again, defrauding the government to try to get more favorable terms for this loan. And again, the loan everything was co-signed by her father when it came to the documents that have been uncovered, falsely listed as husband and wife. This is icky, but we come to expect this from Democrats, right?
Yeah, very icky, Gene. Here's why I think that you should lose this week, though. The federal statute of limitations on fraud is 5 years, and you're digging back to 2001. All right, so I think I move to dismiss your nominee just out of hand for busting the statute of limitations on these charges.
Whoa. Let's not be hasty here, Mr. Galloway. Don't let your thirst for winning just blind you to facts. This is not a charge yet. This is a call for an investigation. It's a criminal referral, sir. Pam Bondi gets to decide whether or not this happened here. But let me just say this. If there are records that have been recently discovered for both of these properties that appear to have been falsified in order to meet lending requirements and favorable loan terms, I think that even just the reporting of that shows how much of a hypocrite Letitia James is, and I think that qualifies her for Buffoon of the Week just based on the discovery of this information.
Possibly, yeah, but it would have been much more impactful if a charge would actually be filed and stuck. I think the Republicans have no balls. I love Pam Bondi, but this is a loser of a case. Unless they do some legal gymnastics like they did to Trump, they're not going to be able to revive this charge. The statute of limitations has passed, and it's just par for the course for the Democratic Party.
Well, as for her end, the spokesperson for her office said Attorney General James is focused every single day on protecting New Yorkers, especially as this administration weaponizes the federal government against the rule of law and the Constitution. She will not be intimidated by bullies, no matter who they are. And she also said that Ross Gallo is a cocky, poopy duty head. So that's it for me. Vote for Letitia James. So now that I've made my case, Ross Galloway is going to score this nominee on our patented Sharpton buffoonery matrix. And in this case, it's all about the bams and the buns. Let's talk buns.
My buns!
No, not those. And definitely not those. I'm talking about our personal buffoonish nature. A decade of collective observations has shown that everyone, to some degree, has a bun. You, me, everybody. The size of their buns is directly related to a buffoon's propensity to do stupid things.
Look at the size of that thing.
And then there's bam, 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 buffoonish action magnitude. That's our measurement of how big a whoopsie a buffoon made. The bigger the mistake, the greater the magnitude. We then plug these values into our Sharpton buffoonery matrix, named for the alpha and omega of buffoonery, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
Modern problems require modern solutions,
which is our visual representation of a buffoon's bum to bam ratio. And here's the best part. After we tally up the worst offenders, you decide. You get to cast your vote, share your thoughts, and you determine who earns the dubious distinction of Buffoon of the Week, which we'll record as the weeks go by. So the floor is yours, Mr. Galloway. What do you think of my nominee?
I'm a fair man. So as much as I'd like to say that your nominee should be disqualified, since it wasn't, I would have to say, for the buffoonish nature of someone like a Letitia James, it's pretty high, man. I could go no less than 80. I mean, this person, especially being from New York, knowing a little bit about this person's past, I cannot remember a single time she's ever been in the public eye and wasn't being buffoonish. So 80 might even be low. So I'm going to give you an 80 on the bun.
You know, that's really generous. I would have put her possibly a little bit lower, given that the People's Republic of New York is the home of the alpha and omega of buffoons, the Reverend Al Sharpton. And if we're comparing everyone to him, I could see it being low, but I appreciate the 80. I'm not going to talk myself out of it. 80 is good.
And I will jump into the next category here, but I can't think off the top of my head someone who would be even higher than her now. Like, I was thinking on the federal, the local, like, she's pretty high up there. She's real buffoonish, man. So I'm going to give her the 80, right? And like you said, we'll be able to compare and contrast as we get deeper into the year. But she's a tough one to beat. Excellent pick. As far as magnitude, man, this is another one that's tough. I have to be fair, right? The ultimate hypocrisy here, whether or not these charges stick, the mere fact that she did exactly what she accused Donald Trump of doing, but there's actually proof of her signing these documents. Not some intermediary or some lower level staffer signing stuff on her behalf. It's literally her claiming that she was living in this Virginia home and that she married her brother or father, whatever it was. So I'm going to give her 100 giga Sharptons. Let me know if you think that's something. Dude, this week is going to be another bad week. I'm going to have to really come out swinging next week. I can't think. How could you go lower?
Don't give it up. Don't give it up. You haven't presented your nominee yet.
I'm not throwing it, but I don't know how you can be any more of a hypocrite. This is textbook definition. Like when I saw this news break, Like, I'm glad you picked her because she had to be on the show this week. It was astonishing that this was true. All right, Gene. My pick is another no-name dude. This time it's Senator Michael Bennet from the state of Colorado. He was on CNN with Caitlyn Collins. They kind of look similar to me. Talking about possibly supporting a constitutional amendment to counteract the Supreme Court decision that says that money is free speech, and talking about how the Republican Party, specifically Donald Trump, is cozying up to billionaires like Elon Musk and tainting elections. Listen to what he had to say here, and then we'll come back.
And I'm using Elon Musk as an example, but we've got problems on the Democratic side as well. And this is one of those instances, Caitlin, where I think we need to think very hard about how to overcome Citizens United. We may need a constitutional amendment to deal with it.
Yeah.
And other generations of Americans have amended the Constitution to get women the right to vote.
Clear,
they haven't said it's impossible.
You would not accept donations from billionaires going forward? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm one of the very few members of the Senate who does not accept corporate PAC money, for example. If you're asking about independent expenditures of billionaires, I haven't thought that through because I'm not in a position to be able to make a judgment about that. I'm not sure. I'm misunderstanding your question, I think.
This guy, Mr. Bennet, was a stumbling, mumbling prick in that video, right? If you listen to what he said, first of all, the Democratic Party has George Soros. They had Bezos. They had Zuckerberg. Guess who else they had once upon a time? Elon Musk, right? All billionaires. They didn't have problems with billionaires. They don't have problems with billionaires. This guy couldn't commit to not taking money from billionaires. But he also didn't mention that the Democratic Party currently is a party of elites. They have Hollywood. They have the media. They have academia. They have the judicial branch. They have Wall Street. They have Big Pharma. And spoiler alert, they have big corporations. All of them. Billionaires in their own right. Maybe not the judicial branch necessarily, but billionaires contributing to their campaigns. I'm going to let you jump in early here because I know you were trying to revive a statute of limitations a default candidate here on your side. So go ahead, Gene. Come at me, bro.
Oh, I have your permission?
Yes, you do.
Okay. First off, shout out to Colorado. You all seem to be being buffoons at a pretty high level. Second week in a row for Colorado. I like your pick. I do. It's a great little buffoon you got there. I think they were probably bigger choices you could have gone with, bigger swings, but that's okay. You're still new to this. I can understand you're ramping it up. But I do love a hypocrite. I do love picking people that are hypocrites. We're going to have the battle of hypocrites in this episode, which is really freaking cool. I think hypocrites are a higher, more insidious level of buffoon as opposed to the ones that we laugh and mock all the time. Classic political hypocrisy from a sitting member of Congress. And I like it. I like the pick a lot. And how could you not like a classic politician saying, let's touch your money, but don't touch my money?
Exactly, man. I mean, I win this week. That's it.
Listen, you got a lot more time to make a case here, though, man.
Well, let me make this case real. Let me say this. First of all, my pick, for those of you guys who don't know, he was born in a place called New Delhi, India, right? I'm going to throw that out there. And guess what his father did for a living, Gene? He was the head of USAID. So this guy is an all-around douche, comes from a family of douches, foreign-born, to a foreign national and I guess an American citizen who happened to be in that country doing all kinds of other things. The Democratic Party, they outraised the Republican Party in nearly every major race. And this guy is talking about Donald Trump, right? Donald Trump raised and spent way less than Kamala. Kamala raised over $1 billion. Trump came nowhere near close. The Democratic Party is made up of the college-educated elites, right? They earn more money than us uneducated Republicans. And they're the urban voters and donors, right? Where do they all go to raise their money? New York City, Manhattan, Los Angeles. So to be a hypocrite and say Donald Trump won because of billionaires when the Democratic Party is the party of billionaires, that is the ultimate hypocrisy. And that is looking forward, Gene, not 25 years ago on a mortgage application like you did on your nominee.
I certainly hear that, and I'm going to help you out here and add something to your argument because I do like it so much. He's not only a hypocrite, he's an incompetent hypocrite. He goes on CNN, the most friendly confines a Democrat could have in media outside of MSDNC, and he just whiffs on this. He stammers and stutters and trying to just, I don't know what he was trying to do, to be perfectly honest with you. But yeah, this is a great pick. I'll let you get the last word here for the next 15 seconds.
Yeah. And don't forget Act Blue. By the way, Act Blue is going to get, someone from Act Blue is going to get indicted. They've been funneling and laundering billions. There's the alarm. I'm done. But funneling and laundering billions through that PAC into the Democratic coffers. All
right, I'll give you those extra seconds because you gave me extra time as well. That's not a problem. Great pick, pal. So I really like your nominee. It is forward-thinking, and kudos to using my old argument against me, but we've moved on past that. Senator Mike Bennet is one of those buffoons that seemingly stays in the background. He's not the first Democrat senator you think of, but he sports all the same pedigree and all of the same rhetoric that you see from those frontline buffoons, like the Bernie Sanders of the world, like the Chuck Schumers of the world, but he sort of fades into the scenery a little bit. So while I recognize that he's a hypocrite, and certainly a big hypocrite at that, based on what you showed, I really think that his bun rating, his buffoonish nature, I'm going to put it, because of his longevity in the Senate, and just, I think that rates it at least a 72. I think I'm pretty comfortable giving that. Are you okay with that?
I think that was a pity one, or last week was bad then, because Chris Matthews definitely is worse than this guy.
No. Chris Matthews was off the stage for years. This guy has remained on it for a while. He's built up buffoonish credibility. That's that. As far as the buffoonish action magnitude, this is Sharpton-esque. Anything involving hypocrisy, in my opinion, is Sharpton-esque. Is it 100 gig of Sharpton-esque, like you generously gave to me? I'm not so sure. But I will say this is hypocrisy. This is hypocrisy on a national scale, on a national network, involving a classic blunder by a politician. I will touch your money, but don't touch mine. So I am going to put this up there. I'm putting it up in the stratosphere, but not, or should I say the Sharpton sphere, but not triple digits, but I am going to say 74.9 gigasharptons, because we haven't hit the decimals yet. And because it's hypocrisy, it's an irredeemable category of buffoonery. It's got to go up into the gigasharptons. It's still high enough that someone can top him, like my pick, but it's high enough to express how I feel hypocrisy is one of the most horrible things in politics that must be stamped out. Are you okay with my rating here, or you want to push back on it?
No, I'll take it. Because I'm going to close you out in my last minute pleading.
All right, well, we'll see about that. And now it's time for our last minute please to you, the viewers and voters for Buffoon of the Week. And I get to go first because I won last time, and probably winning this time. So, ladies and gentlemen, what dominated the news cycle throughout 2024? It was the pervasive lawfare of Donald Trump that was preventing him from running. They wanted to keep him off the ballot. And what happened with that? They lost. Who was one of the figures out there who actually scored a minor victory, though? That was Letitia James. To erase that zero from the board, to erase that win, I should say, from the board, she needs to be Buffoon of the Week this week, because she has shown herself to be the ultimate hypocrite. Listen to Galloway's ratings himself. An 80 on the bum, 100 gigasharptons on the bam. It's a pretty big deal, even though he's a cocky duty poopy head. That being said, let's erase that victory for Letitia James. Even if the DOJ doesn't do anything, she can still be Buffoon of the Week here, and you can make that happen. 59.85 seconds, Galloway. I am so good at this.
All right, Gene. Well played this week. But since we're on the topic of hypocrites, last week, Gene picks a Colorado congresswoman nobody's ever heard of. This week, I picked the senator from Colorado, and Gene's trying to poo-poo my pick. Talk about hypocrites. First of all, you guys can't let Gene win again. Do not encourage this man. Trust me. I don't need Gene's sympathy, okay? I don't need it. I'm going to pull a play right out of the Democratic playbook, and I don't even need a minute for this. Gene's pick proves that he's racist and sexist. Vote for my pick this week.
Listen, you still have more time to play with if you want.
That's it. I'm done.
All right, folks. So now it's up to you to pick Buffoon of the Week. The campaigning is done. The ball's now in your court. You decide, and we'll see you next week to see who won this one. Good Lord. That was fantastic.
Bro, don't encourage this man. Trust me.
This man's a racist.
He's a racist.
He's a sexist.